So, good afternoon, all, and I welcome you all to the course of heat transfer that we have just started for last since last couple of days. Okay, so in last two lectures we have been discussing about various aspects of thermodynamics. We are just reviewing all the basic concepts, terminologies, and definitions uh, taken from the thermodynamics, and which will be very useful while dealing further for the heat transfer. To take on the main course of a heat transfer, we have to be clear about some basic terminologies which directly come from thermodynamics. That is why we are doing this exercise of reviewing all those concepts. So we are spending some amount of time. Otherwise, there is no other reason behind it. We can straight away take on to the main content or main course of the heat transfer. I hope my screen is visible to you. If there is any problem from your end, if you have any issues that if screen is not visible or if sound is not coming properly, if there is any noise from my side, or is there any echo problem or double sound, any technical issue, you can just notify me through a message. Message box is there. You can put your messages through that, or you can unmute yourself, just taking my permission, and you can also speak up directly. Okay, that's that's just a general instruction uh, about the conduct of this lecture. Okay, then we will straight away begin. uh, Yesterday we have discussed the energy transfer that occurs between a system and surrounding. And this is the concept of thermodynamics. In thermodynamics, we define certain body which is taken for a study as a system. It may be closed system or maybe open system, and it interacts with its surrounding. Surrounding means everything which is outside the system or which is not taken for a study. So there is a system boundary encloses or encompasses the system body, and it divides it differentiates the system from its surrounding. So system boundary is a partition between system and its surrounding. So energy can transfer in the form of either heat or work. So these are only two modes of energy transfer that are available, and these concepts have already been defined in thermodynamics. So work is mostly mostly considered as a mechanical form of work, and another form of energy, that is heat, that we are very concerned right now. And the main subject of the heat transfer will entirely be focused around this quantity heat. So is also a form of thermal energy that takes place on account of only temperature difference. The only essential condition for heat transfer to occur is temperature difference. So we discussed that this concept through did some common examples that we find in our day-to-day life, like hot coffee, which is put on a table in a cooler surrounding. It will lose it. It will lose its heat to the surrounding due to temperature difference. So heat always flows from high temperature to low temperature. Again, this is also a matter of fact, or this is like a law of nature, that heat always flows from high temperature to low temperature, and reverse is not true, or we don't see the reverse process of heat transfer. Uh, that is heat is being transferred from low temperature body to high temperature body, and body is getting cooled down on its own. That doesn't happen in nature. So heat transfer is always a one way process, or one directional process, that always goes from high temperature to low temperature naturally. If we want to reverse this direction, we need some mechanical device, or some we have to design, we have to arrange and construct some mechanical machine that is known as a refrigerator. Okay, these concepts are also have been covered in the study of thermodynamics. A refrigerator is a machine uh, which transfers the heat from low temperature body to high temperature body, But for doing this, it requires some energy input in the form of mechanical work. That is the, in fact, that is the sense that comes from, that fact comes from the second law of thermodynamics. In that, second law of thermodynamics was stated by two different statements. One was Kelvin Planck statement, and the other one was Clausius statement. The Clausius statement says that uh, uh, energy, that is a heat energy, cannot be transferred from low temperature reservoir to the high temperature reservoir, that is from low temperature body to high temperature body, without any energy input. So to drive or to run the refrigerator machine, we have to supply some some input energy, some energy as an input. That is why we have all the domestic refrigerators at our home and at various places that have to be supplied with electrical energy, because to drive the compressor, to drive the refrigerator, we need a mechanical component called a compressor, and compressor has to be supplied with electrical power. Then and then only that refrigerator machine can work. Otherwise, uh, automatically or without any supply of energy, it is not going to work. So that is the sense of second law of thermodynamics, and that puts the restriction on this heat transfer, that heat should always flow from high temperature to low temperature. So these are the common experiences, common examples, that hot coffee loses its heat to the cooler surrounding. In the same way, the cold drink, which is put in a warmer surrounding, which are just taken out of the freeze or freezer compartment, it will be warmed up. Its temperature will rise because of the heat transfer from the surrounding air, which is at higher temperature. So whenever there is a temperature difference, heat transfer will always take place from high temperature to low temperature. And finally, when temperatures are equalized or balanced, so it means the condition of thermal equilibrium is reached. So when there is no temperature difference further available, then there will be no heat transfer. So when temperature difference becomes zero, the heat transfer will also stop. So all these aspects we have covered in last two lectures, and also that was covered in the course of thermodynamics. Then we covered the how the this heat transfer is measured, or how this heat transfer is calculated or specified. Generally, it is denoted by symbol Q. Capital Q is used for total heat or total amount of heat, and its unit is joule. SI unit is joule. Since heat is a form of energy, it is measured in joule. Joule is very small unit. Um, for a bigger, larger quantities, uh, we have to use the units such as kilojoules, megajoules, gigajoules, etc. I hope you all are aware of the unit conversion. That is, 1 kilojoule equal to 1000 joules, 1 megajoule equal to 10 raised to 6 joules. These are all multipliers and prefixes uh, that that you should just revise, or you may be knowing from this as a common or general knowledge. Then heat transfer rate is very important quantity. That is amount of heat transferred per unit time, and all our study of heat transfer will be based on this. Will be talking about the rate of heat transfer instead of only the amount of heat, total amount of heat. So I hope you understand the difference between only heat and heat transfer rate. Rate is always per unit time. That is amount of heat divided by time taken for the transfer. So SI unit is joule per second, and joule per second is known as watt. So heat transfer rates will be always specified in watt, kilowatt, megawatt, and so on and so forth. Then the modes of heat transfer, we covered this also yesterday uh, in a quick manner. Let us just discuss it in little further details. So this example I had explained to you, a simple process of heating of any liquid or water taken in a pot or taken in a vessel, which is just held just away from the source of heat, such as the fireplace. So heat reaches from this place, this point to this point, first by radiation, because there is no direct contact between this pot and this fireplace, and radiation, that is the energy transfer or heat transfer that occurs through the electromagnetic waves. There is some what I can say, the radiations always exist in the form of electromagnetic waves, and they can travel at the speed of light, or and they do not require any material medium to transfer. That is how we are able to receive the solar energy from so much of distance away from away from the earth. Sun is more than millions of kilometers away from the earth, but still we are receiving the solar energy continuously for so many years, without any stopping or without any obstruction. There is no any material medium in the space between the earth and the sun over such a long distance, but still that solar energy is reaching to earth, and every day in day out we are experiencing it and we are enjoying it. So that is about the radiation. Uh, then conduction, that is mostly seen in case of solids, whenever there is a direct contact between one body to another body, or one object to another object. Then convection is mostly concerned with the fluids. Heat transfer in case of fluids is mostly dealt with convection form of a heat transfer. Here what happens, first the water which is in contact with this hot vessel at the bottom, it will receive the heat, so thereby its temperature will rise up, and uh, due to absorption of heat and due to increase in temperature, uh, the fluid expands, and as it expands its density comes down, and as its density comes down, it is pushed upwards by the fluid which is surrounding it, or which is just at the top. Its temperature is relatively lower than the temperature at the bottom. So because of this, what happens, uh, it is pushed upwards. The bottom part, the fluid in the bottom part is pushed upwards, and this phenomenon is known as buoyancy. This principle of buoyancy was given by sorry, this principle of buoyancy you have learnt in the class of fluid mechanics, that every fluid, may be liquid or may be gas, it always exerts a force against the gravity in vertically upward direction. That is because of the property of any liquid or any gas, and that is why any lighter material in the gas or in the liquid is always pushed upwards. That is why you see the lightweight objects, or light density objects, such as wooden piece or plastic material, which have density lower than the water, they always float on the surface of the water, because they are always pushed upwards. Plastic wooden parts, they cannot sink down, or they cannot be put into water, because due to higher density of water, there is always a force which is acting in upward direction against the gravity. That is why these objects do not sink in the water, and they float on the surface. The same thing happens here, uh, only difference is there. Here we don't see any other objects, it is all water. Only the difference is the bottom part becomes light in weight because of its expansion, its density goes down, and top part, the water in the top portion, is at relatively low temperature, so it is dense, uh, its weight is higher, and it comes down due to higher weight. It comes Okay, so all of you are there because there is, just a minute. There is suddenly a power cut at my location. I hope all of you are still online and still connected. As power went off, the internet connection also disconnected. Right now, I have come back. Just want to sure, just want to make sure all of you are getting my. Okay, I got some confirmation from Shubham Pawar said yes, so I think uh, everything is all right with everyone. Okay, thank you. So I was explaining about the convection phenomenon, how it happens. The this happens due to the buoyancy effect, and there is due to this buoyancy effect, what happens? A flow current is set. That is, this bottom water will move up, and its place will be taken by the top water in the top. So in this way, the arrows here shown, they indicate the flow direction. Like a circulating flow will be set. That is, top part will come down, bottom part will go up, and this will happen for some time till the all volume of water reaches some uniform, some high, some common temperature. As long as there is a temperature difference, this phenomenon will occur. So some uh, uh, there is some motion, or there is some movement of the fluid mass, and such transfer of heat is known as convection. Okay, and in this case, it is happening naturally because of the principle of buoyancy, because of buoyancy effect. Buoyancy, due to this fluid flow is set due to buoyancy effect. So we have not used any mechanical device as such, or otherwise, to cause the flow, we require some mechanical device like a pump or like a fan. As you know that case of a ceiling fan or a table fan, it is fan is rotated by electric motor, and thereby it pushes the air. It pushes the air, because it creates the pressure difference, and thereby uh, due to higher pressure, the air starts moving from region of high pressure to low pressure. Same happens in case of a pump. Okay, pump, what it does, it it sucks the water. It creates a low pressure region at the suction of the pump, and it discharges the same fluid at the higher pressure. It imparts the higher energy to the flow to the water, and thereby, due to rise in static pressure or static head, water is able to move further, or water is able to pass over the longer distances, or even it may cover the vertical height. Just like we have the domestic water pump at our home, uh, the water is transferred from low uh, ground level tank or ground level sump to overhead tank. So water has to cross, or water has to travel the entire height of the building. So height will be about 50 feet or more than that, 40 to 50 feet. So, so it is going against the gravity. So to travel against the gravity, it requires some energy, and that energy is supplied by the pump. So when flow is caused by some external agency like a fan or a pump, it becomes a case of forced convection, because flow is caused by external force. It is caused by some external agency, and that is why it becomes a case of forced convection. And in case of a natural convection, which is happening here, this flow is caused due to buoyancy effect, due to the density differences, and thereby the buoyancy effect. So and buoyancy effect is a natural phenomenon. That is why it is called as a natural convection. So this simple example is good enough to understand all these three modes. Again, we are going to discuss all their aspects in detail. Here, I'm just explaining as a concept, as a logic. Then, uh, I think mechanism of conduction also I had explained this, that it is mostly seen in case of solids. Uh, for example, if a metallic rod is taken like this, if any solid material rod is taken, it may be a metal rod, it may be a non-metal rod. Non-metal material like rubber will be there, or it may be plastic rod. All solid, any solid is composed of such a crystal, such a lattice crystal. Any solid material is made up of uh, such a microstructure. Uh, the microstructure is made up of some lattice or crystal, which composed of atoms or molecules, and they are arranged in some specific shape or specific order. So when such a rod, metallic rod, receives the heat at one end, what happens is these atoms or molecules start to vibrate because they receive energy, and thereby they start to vibrate, and their vibrations are then transferred to subsequent or neighboring atoms. I will show you another picture that will be more clear. Are you able to see the change in the screen? I have changed from one frame to another frame. Just give your response in message box. You can say yes or no. Just a minute. Yes, Azim. I think there was some problem in screen sharing because there was power cut as well as internet was lost. I have repeated this. I have shared the screen once again. Now see, you can. Are you able to see the screen? Now visible. Okay.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, yes, sir. So see, these are the atoms or molecules which are arranged in some regular fashion or regular order, and there is a source of heat here. So first, the atoms or molecules in this area will receive the heat, and what will happen over the time? Uh, this heat will be absorbed by some more molecules or some more atoms, and these atoms will start to vibrate because they have received some energy levels, and because of this they will start to vibrate about their mean positions. uh, okay, then if this process continues further, what will happen? They will transfer, uh, these atoms will start vibrate, and their vibrations are passed on to next or subsequent atoms lying here. Then these then consequently all of the atoms in the area will start to vibrate, and thereby the uh, heat will transfer from this point to this point. Okay, so this is the mechanism of conduction. this is mostly uh, this is mostly seen in case of solids. The same thing happens in gases, in liquids and gases also, because liquids, gases, all these are composed of atoms and molecules. Atoms and molecules are the elementary components. Okay, so same atoms and molecules are present in gases and liquids also. Only the difference is in solid phase, gas phase, and liquid phase is, in solid phase these atoms are very closely packed or very close to each other. That is why solid can maintain its shape and size. In case of liquid, what will happen? These atoms and molecules will move away from each other. They will be at some distance away from each other. And if you take the same case to the gas, they will be much farther away from each other. Atoms and molecules will be very very far away from each other. That is why we can air is a gas. That is why we can see through the gas, because the distance between one molecule of air and the other molecule of air will is like in meters, or sometimes it is in kilometers. So because of such a large distance between one molecule to one molecule, or one atom to one atom, uh, the conduction in liquids and gases is very very weak as compared to solids. That is why the heat conduction is predominantly seen in case of solids, because of their atomic structure, or because of their molecular structure. Such a crystal shape structure is there. That is why heat can be conducted through the solids. That is why uh, the property called conductivity is very high for the solids as compared to liquids and gases. Conduction happens in liquids and gases also, but the amount is very very low as compared to the solids. The Okay, so this way we can understand the mechanism of conduction. Then in case of metals, what happens, uh, along with the atoms and molecules, as you can see in this diagram, these bigger spheres are the atoms or molecules, and these smaller spheres, smaller balls or smaller spheres, are electrons, or free electrons. So in case of metals, along with the lattice vibrations, that is vibration from between one atom to another atom, or one molecule to another molecule. At the same time, electrons can also flow. There is also a flow of free electrons through the metals, and this happens only in case of metals. So conduction in case of metals is due to both factors. One is because of lattice vibrations between the atoms and molecules, and the other factor is flow of free electrons. And both these factors contribute to the conduction phenomenon. And in case of metals, uh, as there is a large number of free electrons available as compared to the lattice vibrations, the conduction is mostly due to this to the is due to the flow of free electrons through the metallic solids. Otherwise, for some other solids, such as for non-metallic solids such as rubber, plastic, wood, cotton, paper, etc., all these do not carry any free electrons. Free electrons are not present. So conduction is only or entirely due to the lattice vibrations, just like shown here. So that is why uh, the conduction in case of non-metals is relatively weaker than the conduction in metals. That is why you find uh, all the uh, all the heating appliances or heating and cooling applications are made out of metals. Like in kitchen, all the cooking utensils, like pressure cooker, or a cooking pan, cooking vessel, all these are made up of some metal. They may be with a copper base, or they may be made of aluminum, or sometimes they are made of stainless steel. So all metallic materials are used for heating applications or cooking applications, where heating has to be quicker and faster, because metals have this ability of conducting the heat at faster rate, or at quicker rate. Okay. uh, and the materials which have low conductivity, such as plastic, rubber, wood, all these are used to prevent the heat loss, or to avoid the heat transfer. Such materials are known as insulators. Just let me take you to another slide. There you will are you able to see the change screen? You can give your feedback through message. You can just say yes or no in message box. I'm changing in between the screens, so it takes some time from switching from one screen to another screen due to some signal issue or internet issue. Okay, Chaitanya says yes, so it should be all right for all. So here you can see, I will make it large. So examples of conduction that most of the cooking utensils such as this are made of steel, copper or aluminum alloys. So see this example or see this photo. A pot, metallic pot is placed on a gas, so heat will be very easily conducted into the to the food item which is placed in it. Now see, the handle is always covered with some non-metallic substance, non-metallic item. That is, a cover of plastic or rubber is provided to the handle. Why? Because uh, if it is entirely made of a metal, what will happen? Due to direct conduction from this part to this part, metal will easily get heated up and its temperature will be very high. And if you just happen to touch a bare with your bare hand to this bare handle, uh, your hand will definitely get some burns. So because temperature is so high that the hand we we cannot handle or we cannot just touch this touch this pot. So to handle it with ease and without causing any injuries of burns and all, it is always provided with the plastic handle or a rubber handle. So so what plastic or rubber does is it prevents the transfer of heat because of its material property of very low conductivity, and that is why these materials are known as insulators. So at such in such applications, such like handles of all the cooking utensils that human people have to handle without any trouble, all are made of non-metals such as plastic, wood, or rubber. So it depends on what type of material we have to select. That depends on application. If it is a cooking or heating or cooling application, we require high conducting materials of high conductivity such as metals, and there are such instances such as handles and all. um, there we do not require any heat transfer, so material with a very low conductivity, that is insulating property, such materials are selected. Then there are some other examples such as for insulation. In this diagram you can see uh, this is an air conditioning duct. It is carrying the cold air or chilled air. Summer air conditioning is mostly used in summer period to maintain the buildings or the houses cool. And air, the cold air is taken from the air conditioning unit and it is uh, supplied to the indoors. Then these ducts are made of mostly these are made of aluminum or some metal. If we don't provide any if it is not covered by insulating material, what will happen? Aluminum is a metallic material and its conductivity is very high, and, and the air inside the duct is on lower side as compared to the surrounding air which is on hotter side, and easily heat transfer will take place, and whatever energy and the purpose of air conditioning will be lost. Okay, and we will lose some energy to it, because to to cool down the air, we have to run the air conditioning unit, and to run the air conditioning unit we require some refrigeration plant, and to run the refrigeration plant we have already spent some electrical energy, and if we don't provide the insulation here, and that will be direct loss to the air conditioning, as well as it will add to the uh, running cost of the AC unit. So to avoid this, to avoid the to avoid the loss of energy, and to avoid the rising the temperature of cold air from due to outside air, air conditioning ducts are always covered by insulation. Particularly polyurethane foam is used. Many such materials are available. Polyurethane foam is just one example. rock wool, mineral wool, even asbestos, all these are used as insulating materials. So these were the examples of conduction. Then convection. Convection, as I said, it happens at the interface between solid surface and fluid which is in contact with the solid. Here in this example, you can see mm, two diagrams are shown. This is a hot egg which is just placed on the top of the table, and it is in contact with the surrounding air. And what will happen due to high temperature of this hot egg? The surrounding air will receive the heat, and suppose there is no any external medium or external fan like this. Here a fan is shown. So here fan is causing the air to flow over the hot egg. So this is a case of forced convection, because the air is being blown on the hot egg, and this airflow is taking the heat away from the hot egg. So here airflow is caused by the external device such as a fan. That is why it is a forced convection. So what will happen in the process? The heat will heat will be transferred from this hot egg to the air which is blowing uh, over this egg. But in case of a natural convection, suppose there is no any fan or no any external device to cause the flow, air which is surrounding the hot egg will become hotter, and it will expand, and it thereby its density will come down, and the air which is surrounding here just close to it, just and well away from the hot egg, that will be at relatively lower temperature, and that will create the buoyancy effect. That is why these arrows are shown. As you can see, the air which is very close to egg, that will be hotter and that will be warmer, uh, that will that will become light in weight, and it will be pushed upwards due to force of buoyancy, and its place will be taken by the fresh air which is at lower temperature, and this phenomenon will continue as long as there is a temperature difference. So this way a flow is automatically set. Okay, automatically flow is created. So this is due to the buoyancy effect. So this is the difference between forced convection and natural convection. Definitely the rate of heat transfer is higher in case of forced convection, because it is provided with external pressure or external force, as compared to natural convection. In natural convection, this flow rate will be very low. Uh, Even we sometimes we may not realize such thing is happening or not, because the pressure differences are very low, and the rate of flow is very low. That is why heat transfer rate will also be very low. Uh, Ceiling fan is an example of forced convection. Uh, this is mostly experienced by us. We as a human body, we are also human body is also generating lot of heat inside, and it has to be dissipated to the outside or surrounding air. Suppose generally fan is we sit under the fan, sit under the ceiling fan or in front of a table fan during hot summer conditions. So whenever we sit under fan, we have a better comfort, or we have a better feeling, because uh, all the heat from the body is taken away from the taken away by the airflow, which is just flowing above, which is just blowing over our body surface. But suppose if fan is just off, if suppose there is a power cut and fan is off, and you just can imagine this condition uh, in a uh, in a season of hot summer, in a month of May. Suppose there is a power cut at your home, and suddenly the fan is off, and outside temperature, the summer conditions is like for more than 40 degrees Celsius. So it's very difficult to be comfortable under such hot summer conditions. So in that case, body starts to sweat. Body starts to sweat. So because the rate of heat transfer is very low, the heat taken away by the surrounding air, which is close to the body, is very low. uh, in case of natural convection, and when you are sitting under the fan, it is the case of forced convection. Okay, the same thing happens. Same principle is used for the cooling of motherboards or uh, motherboards of the PCs or electronic control boards of any uh, electronic device. Such fans are usually seen when you take the back cover of your CPU. You will find such fans which are just mounted, and they perform the work of cooling. So these are typically known as cooling fans. So because this this is provided to control the temperature of all the inside components, all these electronic components like RAM and processor, etc. All these uh, generate a lot of heat because they are continuously working, and due to continuous current flow through them, there is a lot of heat generation, and that heat generation has to be removed by with the help of cooling fan, and thereby their temperature can be maintained. Working temperature can be maintained. If this cooling fan fails, what will happen? The temperature will shoot up, and that will lead to the failure of some of the components of any computer or any electronic or digital device. Natural convection is also seen in case of such matchstick or essence stick. There you can see the direction of flow is always in upward direction, and these fumes are visible. The smoke or fume is visible. That is why we are able to see the flow of air. So these few fumes, which are always moving in upward direction, they indicate the flow of air around them, because this tip is very hot, very hot. It is acting like a hot source, and whatever the air which is surrounding it, it is flowing. It is taking the heat away from it, and it is flowing in upward direction. This upward direction is only due to the buoyancy effect. That is the reason behind natural convection. Okay. Same, then third mode, that is the radiation. Already I have told you that the solar radiations em- emitted from the sun are reaching the earth's surface through the space, through the vacuum, through the electromagnetic waves or electromagnetic radiations. This is the natural example, and uh, in our day-to-day life, uh, we have seen at many places that microwave oven is used for cooking or baking purpose. So in this, what happens is the inside from inside such coils are heating coils are arranged which emit the microwave radiations, and we in this is like a empty box. You just have to open the door and put in the whatever bowl or pot or cup of tea in it, and after some time it becomes hot. It is because heat is radiated from these panels, and that is absorbed by the material put in the pot, and there is nothing, no any material medium required. We don't put any water, we don't put anything, any oil or any sort of thing to heat or to for the cooking. It is all this entire box is empty, and we have to only put the pot or a cup of a tea or cup of a coffee, and after some time, like just 2 minutes, it will be hot, because radiations are emitted by the internal coil surfaces, and these radiations are absorbed by that cup or bowl, and that becomes hot. Okay, so such principle is used in microwave oven. Many such examples you can find from your day-to-day life experiences. Okay. Then in solar water heater, which is also very common nowadays, uh, here you can see, you get to see all three modes in action. That is, um, now see, this is I hope you are all aware of how it works. This is the absorber plate or absorber tube on which solar radiations are falling, and uh, this is designed in such a way that all the incident radiations or falling radiations are absorbed by the absorber plate, and this heat that will be stored as a heat, and that heat is transferred to the water which is flowing through the tubes. Tubes will be in contact with this absorber media, and these metallic tubes, copper tubes are used, and heat will be then transferred to the water which is flowing through the tubes, and the whatever is the hot water generated, that is collected in this storage tank, and then this hot water will be supplied as per requirement through the connecting pipes. Of course, there will be inlet. Through the inlet, this this tank receives the cold water. The cold water is coming from any overhead tank, and that cold water runs through these tubes, and and absorbs the heat from the absorber media, and thereby it becomes hot, and it is then stored in this heating phenomena also takes place by natural convection, it is mostly known as thermosiphon effect. In this bottom diagram, you can understand that this cold water is coming down on account of gravity, and this is the absorber plate. So this is solar radiations are falling on the solar collector or absorber plate, and to this plate the tubes are connected. Metallic tubes are in contact with this absorber plate. First, radiations are absorbed by the absorber plate, so it becomes hot, and as tubes, all these metallic tubes, mostly the copper tubes, are used. So copper tubes are in contact with the absorber plate, so they will receive the heat. So first part is radiation. These radiations are absorbed, so there is a radiation heat transfer between sun and the absorber plate, and from the this absorbed heat is transferred to the tube via conduction. So first mode is radiation, the second mode is conduction. Tube, as you know, a tube or any pipe, it has some thickness. It has a wall thickness. So there will be outer surface and there will be inner surface, and water will be flowing through the inner tube. So water will be in contact with the inner surface. So first heat will be conducted the uh, uh, through the tube wall from outer surface to inner surface. So that is the mode of conduction. Then finally the heat is uh, carried by the flowing water, and that is how the water gets heated, and that hot water is stored here. So uh, this water is being heated when it is flowing through the tube. So that is the mode of convection. So all three modes are covered in case of solar water heater. First there is a radiation, then from absorber to the tube it is by conduction, and from the tube inner surface to the water it is by convection. So all such modes of heat transfer can be seen in any example. It is just one common example. You can spot such cases or such instances in many other applications. Okay, uh, I think we have crossed our time limit. Of course, there was some time loss due to the power connection off and internet connection off. Uh, anyway, no worries. I will just take down your attendance for today, and then you can uh, leave out. Just wait for a few seconds. Once your attendance is recorded, you can leave now. Okay, I think it is done. You can leave, and we will meet again in tomorrow's lecture. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.